The alarm tore through the station before I even opened my eyes. Red light spun across my quarters, and my cat Biscuit was already on my chest, claws digging into the blanket, yowling like the walls were on fire. I rolled out of bed and grabbed my uniform in the dark. Threshold Station had never sounded an alarm like this before, not once in the 2 years I had lived here. This was not a drill tone. This was the deep, grinding siren reserved for one thing only. Hull breach warning. Something outside the station had touched something it should not have touched. I ran into the corridor with Biscuit pressed against my ankles, refusing to fall behind. Cadets poured out of their rooms in half-buttoned uniforms, faces pale under the flashing light. My advisor, Professor Vey, met me at the junction, all 4 of his eyes wide open at once, which I had learned meant real fear. "Cadet Okafor," he said, "life support on Deck 9 has gone silent. No readings, no airflow, no heat signature. We do not know what is inside." "What do you mean you don't know what's inside?" "Sensors always know." "Sensors show nothing," he said. "That is the problem. Something is blocking them." Deck 9 was where they kept the biolab, the storage vaults, and 40 crates of unclassified organisms pulled from 3 different star systems for study. If something had gotten loose down there, it could be anything. A microbe, a parasite, a predator built for a world we had never even mapped. Grace, one of the senior cadets, came sprinting toward us with a scanner in her hand, breathless. "Team is already suiting up to go in," she said. "Command wants 6 volunteers. No droids allowed past the outer hatch. Their signals get eaten the second they cross the threshold. Whatever this is, it kills electronics." That single sentence dropped the room into silence. No electronics meant no sensors, no communication once inside, no way to call for help if something went wrong. Just eyes, ears, and whatever training we had. I felt something brush past my leg. Biscuit trotted straight toward the sealed hatch of Deck 9 and sat down in front of it, staring at the door like he expected it to open for him personally. "Get your cat out of the corridor," Vey said. "This is not the time." "He's never done that before," I said. "He doesn't sit still for anything." Grace looked down at Biscuit, then at the scanner in her hand, then back at me. "Command needs 6 volunteers right now, Ren. Are you in or not?" I thought about Deck 9 full of crates we had barely cataloged. I thought about my 2 years of training that had never once prepared me for walking into a place sensors could not see, and I thought about the cat sitting calmly in front of a door that terrified every trained officer on this station. "I'm in," I said. We suited up fast. Daniel and Ellie, 2 cadets from the engineering track, joined Grace and me, along with 2 security officers named Owen and Priya. 6 of us, no droids, no signal once we crossed the hatch. Vey stood at the control panel, his hands shaking slightly as he keyed in the override. "I do not like this," he said, "but I have no better option to offer you." The hatch hissed open, and cold air rolled out, thick and wrong, carrying a smell like burnt metal and wet stone. Biscuit shot through the gap before anyone could stop him. "Biscuit, no!" I lunged after him, and the hatch sealed behind us the moment the last person crossed, exactly as designed. There was no going back until the mission was done. The corridor beyond was dark except for our helmet lights. Every panel on the wall was dead, screens black, indicator lights gone. Grace tapped her scanner and shook her head. Nothing, not even static. "Stay in formation," Owen said quietly, eyes on every angle. "Whatever took out the electronics is still close enough to matter." We moved forward one careful step at a time. Biscuit trotted ahead of us, tail low, ears flat, moving with a purpose none of us understood. Every few meters he would stop, sniff the air, and change direction slightly, and each time, we followed him, because none of our instruments gave us a better option. "This is insane," Daniel whispered. "We're following a house cat through a dead zone. He found 41 dead pests on this station before any of our scanners caught a single one," I said. Don't knock it. The corridor opened into the storage vault, a wide room lined with crates stacked 3 high. In the center of the room, one crate had been torn open from the inside, its metal lid bent outward, like something had pushed through it with tremendous force. The floor around it was covered in a strange, pale residue that glistened faintly under our lights. "Careful," Priya said, raising her scanner, even though she knew it would show nothing. Old habits do not disappear just because the tools stop working. Biscuit froze at the edge of the residue, body low, every muscle locked tight. Then, slowly, he backed away from the open crate and turned toward the far corner of the room, staring into the shadows where our lights barely reached. "Something's over there," Grace said, voice tight. We swung our lights together, and for one long second, nothing moved. Then a shape unfolded from behind a stack of crates, pale and thin, with too many joints, moving low along the floor. It was small, barely the size of a large dog, but it moved fast, and the moment our lights hit it, every panel in the room flickered violently, sparks raining down from a broken conduit above us. "It's feeding on electrical current," Ellie said. "That's why the sensors failed. It's drawing power right out of the walls." The creature hissed, a strange, high sound like metal scraping metal, and pressed itself flatter against the floor, clearly deciding whether we were a threat or a meal. 6 adults stood frozen, breath held, unsure whether to advance or retreat. Biscuit did neither. He walked forward, slow and deliberate, straight toward the creature, tail high now instead of low, moving with the same calm confidence he used every single time he brought a dead pest to my dinner plate. The creature turned toward him, confused by the small, fearless shape approaching it head-on. "Biscuit, stop," I whispered, my heart slamming against my ribs. He did not stop. He walked right up to the creature, sat down in front of it exactly the way he had sat in front of the sealed hatch an hour earlier, and stared at it without blinking. For 3 full seconds, nothing happened. The creature stared back, its strange joints twitching, clearly unsure what to make of an animal that showed no fear and no aggression at all. Then it turned and fled, slipping through a gap in the wall panel and vanishing into the maintenance shaft beyond, leaving nothing behind but a faint trail of pale residue and a room full of stunned humans. Grace let out a breath she had clearly been holding for a full minute. "It ran from a cat." "It didn't run from a cat," I said, watching Biscuit calmly begin grooming his paw like nothing had happened at all. "It ran because he wasn't a threat, and he wasn't prey. He didn't fight it, and he didn't flee from it. It had no idea what to do with that." Owen sealed the broken conduit with an emergency patch, while Daniel and Ellie worked to restore partial power to the vault. Within minutes, the panels flickered back to life, dim at first, then steady. Scanners came online. Communication crackled back into our helmets, and Vay's voice came through, frantic with relief. "Report your status immediately." "We're alive," Grace said. "Creature has retreated into the maintenance shaft. Power is being restored. We need a full containment team and a biology unit down here fast." "Understood. Get back to the hatch, all of you, now." We walked back through the corridor together, lights steady now, panels glowing again along the walls. Biscuit walked ahead of me the entire way, tail held high, completely unbothered, as if none of this had been unusual in the slightest. When the hatch opened, Vay was standing there waiting, and for the first time since I had known him, he looked at Biscuit with something that was not confusion or academic curiosity, but something closer to respect. "It found the breach before our instruments did," he said quietly. "It located the creature before our instruments did. It approached a hostile organism with no protection and no weapon, and the organism withdrew rather than engage." "He does that," I said, scooping Biscuit up into my arms despite the suit between us. "He decides what's his to protect, and then he protects it. Doesn't matter if it makes sense to anyone else." Vay stared at the cat for a long moment, then wrote something into his log, The same log where he had once written the words contamination event and non-transactional devotion behavior. I never found out exactly what he wrote that night, but weeks later, I saw a new line added to the station's emergency protocol manual, buried quietly among the official procedures. It said that in the event of sensor failure during a containment breach, a domestic Earth animal companion should be considered a viable early detection asset, pending further study. Biscuit never read that line, obviously. He would not have cared even if he could. He simply curled up on my chest that night, purring like the whole terrifying day had never happened, completely certain that whatever had threatened his person was no longer a problem worth thinking about. And honestly, after everything I had just seen, I believed him completely.